Okay, I may be out of touch on this one, but to get a job? I mean, call me old-fashioned, but in my day, you to avoid getting a job. In my day, if you that was the job. What's up, everybody? Ty Rivera here, the absolute best LGBTQ comedian in the world. In case anybody is wondering, Snoopy Bijou is currently enjoying a Whimzees Alligator. If you're interested in checking out Whimzees Alligators for your dog, you can check out the Amazon affiliates link down below in the description. Whimzees Alligators. They will not, should not, they haven't killed my dog. That's not their slogan, but they're the never to be sponsor of Unbothered by Ty Rivera, so I'll make their slogan whatever I want it to be. Anyway, we're not here to talk about that. What we're here to talk about is one of the co-founders of the Lincoln Project, which is an anti-Trump PAC, a group. I think it's a PAC is technically the term since it's political. And one of the co-founders, John Weaver is his name, got in trouble because he's been sending messages to young guys. And I laugh a little bit because, like, there's a couple things that get on my nerves about this situation. Some of you know me from my recent appearance on the Tim Dillon show, where the title of the show was called Be Better Whores. And that's really the way I feel about this situation. And that's where I want to be able to expand on this a little bit. Because in this situation, to me, if you completely got blindsided by John Weaver and you had no idea that he was being a creep, I sincerely feel bad for you that this is the first time that this happened. And I'm not making a joke of that at all. But it seems like in all these cases, a fair amount of these guys already knew what was going on and they were in on it. They just weren't good at what they did. To me, that's what's frustrating about these new school wannabe whores or whatever it is they're trying to do. I don't even know what they're trying to do because they're really bad at it. You know, prostitution is the oldest profession in the world and it's getting ready to go extinct because Gen Z can't do anything right. This is what they were talking about with that participation trophy shit, because you have whores fucking it up. Well, you have non-whores fucking it up for real whores that would be able to actually make something out of that situation. Like I said in the beginning, I was only halfway joking when I said that, but like back in the day, if you used to fuck people, that was the job. I don't know what else it is you're trying to get accomplished. Like, either make that worth it or don't do it in the first place. And if you're gonna fuck for a job, then at least make sure you're in place for a wrongful termination lawsuit if they do decide to fire you by the time you fuck. You know, like if you have to string them along, you're the one that's in charge. You're the fucking hot one. How do you not get this? How is this not simple math for you? How is it these old men are taking advantage of the young men in this situation? And we won't get into the women thing right now because it's its own thing and we can talk about that later and that power dynamic. But when it comes to a hot guy and an old guy, how is the hot young guy not the one in charge? How is it he's feeling victimized at the end of all of this? Because really, you should have hustled that old man. You shouldn't believe a word of what he said. He is probably giving you that old line that all these old tricks give young guys where they're like, I've actually never done this before. Yeah, bitch, you've never fucking done this before, but your asshole is the size of a silver dollar. And I'm supposed to believe you've never done this before. Okay, yeah, let's all pretend to be new. I've never done this before either. Oh, you're taking advantage of me. Yeah, okay, whatever, bitches. I'm not buying it. And then John Weaver, in order to counter this, and I'm going to get into like some of the specifics on it, don't worry, but I'm going to give you my opinion first. Then John Weaver, to counter this, comes out as gay. His exact thing was, the truth is that I'm gay and that I have a wife and 2 kids who I love. My inability to reconcile those two truths has led to this agonizing place. Touching. Happy National Coming Out Day a couple months later, girl. Nobody's fucking buying it. I'm coming out. Yeah, now you're coming out. You're not coming out. You got found out. That's what happened. Well, because what happened was, the Lincoln Project got on a little bit of a high horse and they decided we're going to hold anybody that supported Donald Trump accountable. And then all of a sudden these younger guys came out and they were like, well, we're all holding people accountable. Why don't we talk about the fact that John Weaver has been creeping on us? So that's where John Weaver ended up getting in a whole lot of trouble, because then there was a reporter that was willing to do a story about it. He was just like, I need to get some corroboration. I need to get some of his DMs or some of the text messages that he sent. And these queens were like, yes, girl, I am ready to expose these tweets. The one thing I have a problem with, though, is that in everything that I read on the day that it happened, because this happened like Friday and then I ended up seeing it Saturday, you know, because I wasn't right on top of it, Rose. But everything I saw was them like sensationalizing the fact that he was talking to young guys. And this gets on my nerves because the way that they phrased it was in a way to make it sound like he was picking up on kids. And then you read the story, and the guys that he was talking to were between 19 and 26, which I know 19 still has teen in it, but really, that's an adult. So once you hit 18, you're an adult, and I get it if you're going to say that the power dynamic, because if you guys want a little bit more background on John Weaver, he's the co-founder of the Lincoln Project and the former top advisor, emphasis on top, maybe. Probably not. Old bottom. Top advisor to Republican John McCain and John Kasich. Or Kasich. I never know how to say that. But whatever it is, it is. And so what he's accused of is he sent these guys uncomfortable and sometimes sexually explicit messages, which to me sounds like a day on Grindr. And I get it. This isn't Grindr. These guys were looking for a job or an internship, which bothers me too, because who's fucking for an internship? Who's flirting with these old men for an internship? You don't even get paid for an internship. I mean, come on, guys. Do better. Please be better whores. I cannot stress this enough. If you're going to be trying to live like a whore, at least be good at it. That's all I say. And it's not that hard to figure out. All of you are college guys. You can't figure this out? You smart enough to make it in college? They clearly don't teach life skills in college. So that's all I'm going to say. But, you know, some of these men responded and engaged. See, that's one thing that they admit is that some of the men responded and engaged. So if you're responding and engaging, then why is that really a victimization? That's flirting to me is what that sounds like. He had sent them uncomfortable and sometimes sexually explicit messages after they originally connected with him in a professional capacity. The young men were recent college graduates or were in college and were looking for political jobs. It says here Weaver would dangle his political connections to try to gain sexual favors, often initiating contact through direct message on Twitter and later through phone calls or paying for travel. I bet that's not all he was dangling. And that's not all that was being dangled at him, to be honest. I'm sure there was mutual danglage happening in this situation. And believe me, I know sexual harassment. I have been sexually harassed. And I'm not trying to make light of actual sexual harassment. But when somebody tried to sexually harass me, there have been two people that have like legitimately where it's been a situation where it was real sexual harassment. One of them was creepy and persistent, and the other one was just creepy. And both of them I shut down immediately because I knew that's what was happening. They were very clear in their, it was, but like that's what you have to do. You just have to shut it down. You don't flirt back with them unless you in some way are trying to work them. And I was never trying to work anybody in comedy because my thing was, I know how comedy works, and either you're going to get there or you're not. It's not about who you're fucking in stand-up. And also, maybe in politics, it's a little bit different, Kamala Harris. So, never mind. I see their point. This was a legitimate career path for them. So, you guys are right. But I'm going to still continue with my narrative because I think it's more fun. Some of these men responded and engaged Weaver in sexually charged conversations. The crux of the complaint levied by the men is that Weaver used his position of power to exploit them as they were beginning their careers. And that's where I get back to what I was saying. Like, really, if you're the young hot one, you're in the position of power. So I don't even know why you're giving up your power like that. I don't even know why you're letting this old man think he has any kind of power at all. He has no power. He's just a fucking dog with pockets is all he is. So you just dig in those fucking pockets and get the money you need or get the job you need or whatever it is you need to get, you get from that situation. I don't know why all this extra is happening and you feeling victimized at the end. You know what this is? They DM'd with him. He didn't end up giving them the jobs, and that's something that I'm going to verify in a few minutes in what I'm going to say, or a few seconds in what I'm going to say. But he didn't get them the job, and then they had made that mistake, which back in my day would have been the equivalent of spending too long on the phone with the trick. When I first started doing that kind of work, you know, there was like beepers and cell phones is the way that it worked. And one of the older whores that tried to pretend to be young told me when I first started out, he was like, never spend too long on the phone with the trick. If they don't book with you right away, it's not going to happen. Don't spend any time on the phone with them. And I did it like one time, No, 2 times where I spent too long on the phone with them. And then it was like, yeah, I'll never do that again. And I know the feeling of feeling cheated, like your time has been wasted, but mine was a phone call and this was probably a couple weeks or whatever. But it also says Weaver flew politically ambitious men to his location for massages and offered jobs in exchange for sexual relations. A massage? You're giving massages for a job? Are you even licensed in massage? That's a whole nother charge right there if you get busted for that. Be better whores. I can't express this enough. Be better whores. But also, if you're getting flued out like a hoe, don't be surprised if you get treated like a hoe. Because he flued you out. You know that you had no business being over there. You have no experience. You know what this is. You were in on it. That's what bothers me about these people, is you played along and then you didn't get what you wanted. And then when you didn't get what you wanted, but he did get what he wanted, then you felt cheated. And all of a sudden, this is an issue. So I get it, but I don't get it. You know, he said creepy things like good morning, my boy, to people. You know, like he would refer to this guy as his boy. At a point, he told this same guy, your new hair color is hot. Keep it that way. Look smart, clever, handsome, hot. You have it all. Well, that one I can't really blame him for, because, you know, if your boy comes in with a new hairstyle, you better make her feel like a new woman if you want to fuck that ass again, is all I'm saying. And yeah, maybe I shouldn't talk so much, but that's really the way I feel about this whole situation. It's all like they're playing this game that they really weren't ready for. Clearly. Like, this one is a text message exchange. And just before, because it doesn't show all of it, it just says John Weaver. It doesn't show the message right before. So it's just John Weaver's responses, you know? So this person, you can see that they put something, and then John Weaver responded with the fire emoji. So I would imagine that the person had said something at least somewhat sexy, something leading, because then John Weaver responds with, oh boy, exclamation mark. And then he's like, versatile, which means you can be top or bottom for anybody that's not well versed in versatility in the gay community. And then he sends like a gif with the Jim Carrey face, you know, though. And then the next question John Weaver asks is, like a big cock? Rhetorical question. In the gay community, everybody likes a big cock. Whether they admit it or not, everybody likes big cock. So I don't know why John Weaver even did that other than to frame himself. So it's for me, it's just like, what is the problem here? What's the breakdown? Like, how are we not holding these guys accountable at all? And why are we treating them like children and acting like he took advantage of kids? That's not what happened. These were grown men that should have been smarter. I mean, like on the 19 end, I could see you being a little naive. But on the 26 end, come on now. How long is this going to go on? Some 24 men have claimed Weaver dangled, once again, dangling job opportunities. Now we're reading from the New York Post. Some 24 men have claimed Weaver dangled job opportunities while propositioning them for sex, including one who claimed he had consensual intercourse with a longtime GOP operative in a hotel, but never got a gig out of it. So, what are we doing? Was I right or was I right? Are people playing themselves? Is that what's happening here? Is people are playing themselves and then acting like victims afterwards, which I get it. John Weaver shouldn't have his job with the Lincoln Project because I'm sure they were paying him. He's the co-founder. And I can see how the Lincoln Project would want to disassociate from that. So I'm not saying that on a professional level he wasn't wrong. But as far as the game these younger guys were playing with him, it's like, don't play the game. I already said this before, but it bears repeating. Don't play the game if you don't like the game the other person is playing. It's as simple as that. As soon as he starts to get creepy with you in DM, you immediately put the kibosh on that if you're not interested in that. And if you're going to be that kind of person and you're going to try to make it work for you, then like I said, make sure all your bases are covered and you're fully entrenched in what it is you want to do before you actually do anything that you consider to be the only card you have to play in this situation. Because really, that's the only card these guys have to play, is the sexual card, is the I'm hot card. So if he really wants to fuck you and you really want that job, then make sure you're fully in the job before you fuck. It's as simple, and then you don't really have to do the job. But, you know, you'll still be there. But it is what it is. I don't know what these people want. Others said Weaver slid into their direct messages on Twitter, referred to them as my boy, complimented their hair, or asked about their genitals. like, yeah, as soon as anybody, and I've had friends do this with me, people that I was hanging out with as friends have asked me before, so how big's your dick? And it's like, no, we're not doing that. I had one friend that legitimate, we're friends still, and it was technically a trans woman, so I guess we're not supposed to say this, but there was one trans woman that I'm still friends with that tried to fight me, like was getting aggressive, like physically aggressive with me, because she didn't like the way that I told her that we weren't going to have that conversation. She said that I had a bad attitude, and I was like, well, when we're supposed to be just hanging out as friends, and yeah, we happen to be at your house, but we're hanging out just as friends, and you ask me what my dick's like, to me, that's not appropriate. It's just me and you here. It's not like there's a room full of people and we're all joking around. It's just me and you. So I'm uncomfortable. So I let you know that that's not where this conversation is going. And I had to tell her, if your response to that is that we have to fight, then I guess we have to fight, because I'm not going to just let you talk to me any way you want to. We ended up hanging out the rest of the day, though, and we like got that out of the way. There was never a fight, and we stayed friends. We're friends to this day. Like I said, I just saw her not too long ago, and yeah, she probably feels a little bit silly about it, but I think she learned something that day. I think she learned that it wasn't okay to try to threaten somebody because they don't want to even talk to you about sex, because that's my whole thing. If we're not going that way, and if there's nothing, no exchange happening, it's just not that situation for me on any level, then I'm not even going to let you go down that road with me. And that's the lesson for everybody to learn from this, is put down a boundary and don't worry what the consequence is going to be on that. You know, when it came to career, there's one person that really did. I've talked about it before, and I still am a little bit, I got to be honest, if I'm being 100% honest, I'm still a little bit bitter about it, because he really did try to hurt my career, and kind of did in a lot of instances, you could say, because he had legitimate TV credits. He acts to this day, you know, and he really did put a wrench in some things I was doing and badmouthed me to other people. And it was before my attitude was like this, you know. It's one of the reasons my attitude became like this, like, you know, when it comes to stand-up, because when I came to stand-up, I didn't talk about being in sex work or, you know, having been in sex work or anything like that. I wanted to leave all of that behind me. That was my thinking, was I wanted to leave all of that behind me. And so I wasn't trying to fuck anybody to get anywhere in stand-up. I wasn't trying to flirt with people to get places in stand-up. I was just doing stand-up, and I was working as hard as I could in stand-up. So that's why I say, for the guys that this really did happen to, the guys that weren't engaging him, the guys that were blindsided by it, I do feel bad for those guys. But some of these guys really just were bad whores, and that's what it was. So don't mix the two worlds would be my suggestion. But yeah, so I understand, you know, because I've been there. I've definitely had somebody get in my way when it comes to that kind of stuff. So I do think that, you know, he should be taken out of his position. He's already resigned, you know, he stepped down, and they scrubbed him from the website. And then people in the media, and, you know, like different kinds of media, especially the conservative media that are hardcore Trump supporters, want to see him fry over this. But for me, it's like no harm, no foul when it really came down to it. If there's also been allegations, though, that the Lincoln Project, some of the higher ups at the Lincoln Project, or some of his peers, I should say, because if you're the co-founder, I don't imagine you have higher ups. You probably have your peers that you have to answer to. But some of these guys had gone to some of the peers, and for those guys, I think they deserve some kind of compensation, or at least an apology. I think the people that they told need to be taken out of their positions, because if you're being told that somebody is sexually harassing and then you're doing nothing about it, then that definitely is a problem for me. And I understand the professional world. It's not like I don't have any concept of the way that all works out. And there is a certain way that this is supposed to work out. But when some creep hits you up in your DMs and is like, do you want a job in politics? I notice you have an interest, and right away a red flag would be up for me. And if you mention massage to me, that's not happening either. I had to leave a place that I was going to live in LA. This guy wanted $600 for a room, and he was an older guy. His ad specifically specifically said, because it was in the gay magazine, but at that time, I wanted to live in a gay household because then I don't have to explain to straight people or worry about them being on the conservative side and not wanting a gay man living in their place, or if I want to have somebody come over to hook up, or if I get a boyfriend, I don't have to explain all of that to strangers. So I looked specifically in the gay magazine, and there was this older guy, and he said specifically in the ad that he was not looking for sex or anything sexual. And so I was like, great. And he was charging $600 for a room, which is expensive for just a room. In LA, it's fair, but it's still expensive in my world for just renting a room. But that was the best deal I could find at that time, and I was living in a Jeep Grand Cherokee. And so I agreed to pay the $600, and he was like, well, let's do it this way. How about you just live here for free for a week just to see if we get along? And then if we do get along, then you move in. You can pay your $600 in. If we don't get along, then you can just go out and get your stuff and, find another place to live. And I was like, yeah, that sounds like a great deal to me. We got along for a couple days, and then one day he was like laying on the floor in the living room, and I was getting ready to go do stand-up. And we had been getting along well. We would talk. We were friendly. And then he was like, Ty, before you leave, I have a little bit of tightness in my lower back. Do you think you could just massage it for me? And I was like, yeah, I don't think I would be very good at that. And then he was like, so you're not going to give me a massage? And I was like, no, I'm not giving you a massage. And the part I left out was, especially if you're still charging me the full $600, like, if we could get that down to $300, then possibly I could give you a massage or two a week, no more than 2. And no more than 30 minutes each one. Happy ending. We'd have to go all the way to free, no rent. But all of it could have been worked out and negotiable is what he didn't know. But I wasn't going to tell him that. I just felt like I just want to live here and pay my $600 if that's possible. If you just hit me with an offer, then maybe I'll play ball. But if you leave the ball in my court, I could have afforded the $600. I just couldn't afford my own apartment, which was the other route. With what it was, and yeah, that extra couple $100 would have killed me. And then I ended up lucking out, and then somebody else asked me to live at their house, and that was like $200 a month, and I lived in a den. But I eventually ended up finding out he wanted to fuck me, but by the time I found that out, it was anyway, this is too much of my life. But my thing is, like I said, at the end of the day, I have sympathy for the guys that really didn't get it, but I feel like plenty of these guys really did get it. They just weren't good at what they were trying to do. So I hope this long, rambling video drives home for you guys that if you're going to be a whore, be good at it. Don't just be out here making life hard for real whores that know how to actually do what it is they're trying to do, because you're getting in the way of paid professionals right now. You are open micers. You are the kind of person that somebody should be rubbing your ass at the copy machine after you already have the job, and then you can decide what you want to do. But that's what it is. And like I said, it does bother me that people keep trying to make this more salacious than it is by being like, I saw somebody put he was trying to pick up on young boys, and it was like, that's not young boys. That's young men. Yes, they are young men. 19 to 26 is not young boys. So let's not make it any more salacious than it already is. He's definitely done wrong, and like I said, just to reiterate, he does not deserve to have his position. He needs to be banished altogether from the Lincoln Project, which they've already done. He's off the website. He's persona non grata, and his life is ruined with his wife unless she's just a sucker, and some of these bitches are, so there's a chance that she's going to be on some level cool with it, or maybe she'll take him for as much as she can, which I wouldn't blame her even a little bit if she's home being a good wife. And a lot of the women, I got to tell you, a lot of the wives of these men have no idea what's happening, so I can't blame them and be like, well, she knew what was happening. In a lot of cases, they don't. In a lot of cases, they really are supportive wives, and they're like, you have to be away on business? Okay, you have to be away on business. Like, I've known so many men where they were cheating on their wives like that, and their wives had no idea. But again, that's not my business. I'm a fucking whore. So as long as you pay me, I keep my fucking mouth shut, and that's the way it works. I know I have that joke about the priest that gave me the bad check. Had that priest not given me the bad check, I would never even do jokes or talk about him either, because that's part of the deal with being a whore. You get paid, you shut up. When it comes to Stormy Daniels, that's one where I feel like this bitch really fucked it up. She got paid $130,000 in hush money. It's called hush money for a reason, bitch. You take the money and you hush. That's the way it works. And I know some people wouldn't agree with me because they think Stormy Daniels did something good for the country by exposing that part about Donald Trump and the affair and whatever she contributed to that. But the way I feel about it is she did a disservice for whores, because that's one of the jobs when you're a whore, is you keep your fucking mouth shut. You shut your whore mouth. Anyway, this has been Ty Rivera, the absolute best LGBTQ comedian in the world.